Well, welcome, test takers. This is Dean Tenney coming from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas. You are stuck with me this evening because my friend Brian decided to go to a hockey game. So, more power to him. So, just me. It looks like I could do some better lighting. Hold on just a second. A little better. Looks like I have to spend some more money on the studio. We always like to get started by telling us what exam you're taking and where you're joining us from. My job in the Marine Corps was to brief and debrief pilots on the threat on when they go up and then when they come down to pay it forward. So I always like to tell you whatever we've heard in terms of that. One thing I would tell you is I've heard on the 65 and 66 lately that the balance sheet questions are giving you the item entries, the actual balance sheet entries. So rather than just showing you, current assets or current liabilities, they kind of are mixing it up. So the test takers I've heard from said that what they had to do was go through and they weren't real comfortable with, like, is account receivable an asset and account payable liability, which it is, and messing around with that. So my solution is I'm going to make a little balance sheet lecture and I'll put that up for you and it'll fit that format. Well, I'll go through the balance sheet entries. Maybe I'll start with like a trial balance and then sort it into, assets and liabilities to go over those ratios with you. So that's one thing we've heard. I know we already have one question in the queue, but if you have a question, just put it what your exam is, SIE Series 7, then a Q, and then your question. That saves me time from knowing whether you're chatting with somebody else in the community about, some other issue, or I don't say you spend a bunch of time trying to figure out what exam you're talking about, because some of the things are more testable on certain exams than they are others. So, that's why I just know it. I can tell you, on that exam, it's not a big deal. But, oh, yeah, on that exam, it is a big deal. The channel itself is organized in series playlists. So you would find your series, and then all my videos would be there for you in suggested watch order. Again, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. It is a free supplement. It already has over 200 videos. We're coming up on 1 million views, 10,000 subscribers. So we're going to have a little, some kind of shindig to celebrate. But I try and keep it as organized as I can. And so I put videos on the Reddit, R Series 7. The R Series 7 is for the SIE and Series 7. A lot of times I'll put little videos there that I don't put on the YouTube channel. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. But people are, test takers are. So there's a Facebook thing, and I put stuff there as well. My main activities are here on the YouTube channel and content and the Reddit. If you want a paid supplement from Kaplan, the discount code is Guru10 for any paid supplement. They have quick sheets I highly recommend. They have a Q bank. If you're already using Kaplan products, you might want to consider Brian, the Test Geek, his paid supplements with the 20% discount, Guru 20. Those come in at about $80. Okay, so let's get some questions going here. Boom. Well, you're stuck with me, so we have to use whiteboard. It'll be the electronic version, not the Brian's old-fashioned dry erase board. As I mentioned, Brian is going to a hockey game today, which I don't mind because, at the end of the day, it's my live stream. I'm the one who committed to Tuesdays, not my friend Brian. Taking the 66 on the 11th. I have a friend who failed the 66 and mentioned the questions were so hard than Kaplan QBank. Listen, it's disconcerting. That's why you should come to these weeklies, because what test is it? What provider is it? I've heard, Kaplan's too easy. Kaplan's too hard. Past Perfect's too hard. Past Perfect's too easy. Training consultants. I think that's more a function of your draw and not your test prep vendor. So I'm wishing for you, draws are random, a dream draw. Everything you studied shows up. I and Brian try and be a bridge from the test prep vendor to the actual exam. So I would suggest 2 days effectively. If you haven't already in the YouTube channel playlist, checked out both my practice exam, which isn't diagnostic, it comes from debrief, and Brian's Test Geek practice exam on the channel. Make sure you certainly do that. I also have great lectures. I don't know if you've watched them yet. I have Mighty 90 90 minutes and target rich. I mean, I tried to pack as many questions in that video as possible on the Uniform Securities Act. I have Who's Your Daddy? What that video is about is, do you belong to the SEC as an investment advisor, or do you belong to the states? I highly recommend that. So I've got some videos up there for you. We got some practice questions for you up there, but you can use those as confirmation of the Kaplan-Kubek. So probably not going to be persona non grata, person who's going to like me, but tough love. You know, I find it hard to believe if you exhausted the Kaplan-Kubek, you're going to be surprised. So, you know, there are those kind of draws on the exam, and, you know, but I think the Kaplan-Kubek is the most similar to the actual exam. You know, Chuck Lowenstein is the guy who's in charge of that. I talk to him all the time on what people have encountered, what we can do in terms of tweaking questions. Sometimes I get into it with them. You know, I got into it with a little bit the other day because I've kind of I've been teaching some Kaplan classes. I'm an independent contractor, but I did a 42-person Series 24 class. I'm working on a 65 Series 7 class, and you know, sometimes I take the side of a test taker and I say, "Hey, Chuck, I'm not sure how they're supposed to know this until they read your rationale." So, but Kaplan's the best. I don't know. I think that would be, I call an isolated situation. Happy Tuesday, Kyle. Happy Tuesday. SIE. Woohoo. Savannah. All right. Woohoo. Yeah, 63 is a different animal altogether. Savannah, you really got to you don't have a lot of performance opportunities on that. So same thing. The Uniform Securities Act is what it's all about. Make sure you watch the Mighty 90. I have a 63 practice exam from Brian. I don't know if you've done that yet. That has pretty good correlation to the actual 63. And man, just try and exhaust that Q-Bank. I don't know if it's Kaplan Q-Bank or whatever Q-Bank you have. 63, the name of the game is to read the book and then just start practice, drilling, rehearsing on practice questions. Usually I say for other exams, you have to lay some base. But on the 63, laying base is overrated as compared to just doing as many practice questions as you do. So that would be my recommendation for you. And then I would think you'd be done, right? You're going to be done? Woohoo. New Jersey, 65 Colette. Took the test 2 weeks ago. Well, again, go to the 65 playlist on the channel. And I don't know how much of that you've used yet, but, you know, it's a supplement. I have explicated on the 65. I have explicated the test specifications. So that might be a place to start. Take your print the PDF of the test specifications from NASA. Use that as an intellectual inventory. And what I would do is go through that and put plus for things you felt you were pretty comfortable on, minus for things you can work on. 0 means you're kind of neutral about it. And then good news, then you can find my videos that match up to those areas, and maybe that will help you put a dent in it. I don't know you were getting on practice tests or how many of them you did, but I would maybe do some reading, watch some videos, and then what I would do is take a practice final, just kind of see where you're at. And hopefully you're in the 70% range on that and get it done. I don't want to scare you, but 66 is not knowledge deficit. So I would be able to think you're going to make it on your second attempt. That's not like you're clueless or something. So, you know, it is what it is. So that's what would be my recommendation to you is in terms of that. So the hump is, you know, it's a serious kind of a hump. So why don't you check in if you can get all that done? Maybe next Tuesday, why don't you let us know? Remember, you're chatting. The chat goes bye after the live stream, but you know, people can see what you're chatting. But when you want to circle back with me, deantinney@gmail.com, and just tell me what you did on a practice score, and we can go from there. I mean, you've got time. I was on your side. I'm assuming you have time. So sometimes I know you have other things besides studying for the 65, like life, you know, but assuming you can carve out the time, that would be my recommendation to you. Happy Tuesday, Caitlin. Happy Tuesday. That's pretty standard, Stanley, 766. So that means Stanley is not only going to be an agent of his broker-dealer, but he's also going to be an investment advisor representative of the affiliated investment advisory firm. And so when Stanley's registered, I don't know if he's already victorious, but when he's registered, he will be able to represent both of those. And primarily what most people who are getting a 7 and 66 are doing is a wrap account, where we're going to wrap the broker-dealer's products and services and the investment advisory fee. And Stanley gives them a brochure telling them what's included in the wrap, what's excluded from the wrap. You know, very testable. Not as wraps accounts aren't testable on as much on 7, but 66 they certainly are. And then for those of you taking 763, you're an agent of the broker-dealer. So it gets a little confusing, but 766, and 760, 65 are basically the same things. And then some people get 663, 65. So Stanley, those are some good ones. Stephen, I retest next week, scored 67 on my first attempt. Well, those 60 scores are just really frustrating, I know. But, a lot of people suffer that misfortune. And to be honest with you, some of my best brokers suffered that misfortune. It's, as I always say, now you have to pass 2 tests, your retake and then a test of resiliency. And, I've always found that, that's actually people do well after they've had that initial misfortune and overcome it. Because, things happen, you're battle tested, people would invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you could pass tests. So 7 days leading up to the retake. Well, same thing. I would do an intellectual inventory. I would print the Series 66 test specifications. I would go for that, print that out, go through it, put a plus. I own this intellectually. 0, neutral. Maybe I could use some work. Minus, I go, man, I really remember that was what jammed me up. And I can put some, work in there. That's a potential, honey hole for me in terms of things I can add to my score this next time. And then drill down by reading those sections, watching those videos. I can't stress this enough. Here on the channel, I'm your fake accountability partner. I'm not your real one, meaning I can't hire you and fire you. But I would like to, again, see a practice test from you to see where you're at. So you have 7 days. So maybe 2 days from now, max, you take a practice test. And we want to see on that practice test whether you're in the 70% range. The higher, the better. But 70% means I don't think you're at risk. Between 60 and 70, I think you're at risk. Below 60, I think you have a knowledge deficit problem. So that would be my recommendation for you. By the way, if you want additional information, just put it back in the chat. I take the chat in the order I come to them. So, if you want me to expand on something, just put it back into the chat and eventually I'll scroll to it. Excited. That's the right attitude. Boy, attitude is such an important thing. Being spirit-filled about these tests is really helpful. I may have told you this story before, but I had a very senior private equity person. I mean, she's the real deal. Every time I came to tutor, she goes, I hate this. I hate this stuff. I hate you. I'm joking. I said, well, listen, you're not going to be well studying if every time you open the books or something, you're talking about how much you hate this stuff. You got to pretend you like this stuff and you're excited for the opportunity, because then your brain will absorb it a little bit better. Whereas if you're negative about it, your brain just kind of shuts down and says, I ain't learning it. So I like the attitude. Attitude is so, so important to a test taker. Little things like that sound silly, but attitude, confidence, I had somebody I worked with, and she is a very successful salesperson and she has a very successful sales team. And she already had a 6 and a 63. And she was really, really struggling, trying to get the 65 done. I mean, really struggling. I mean, she's not a good test taker. She's an excellent leader of men and women. She's an excellent, producer. And, I just loved her attitude, because every time she missed the mark, she would just, okay, I'm going to go for it again. It'll help her leadership, because nobody in her team can ever say to her, oh, you don't understand. So Savannah says, do you have any questions on the 7? She passed. She's in the chat. She's willing to tell you about her dragon. Now, remember, every dragon is a different dragon. Every draw is a little different. So Savannah stands able and willing to help you with any questions, or what she saw. Now, remember, on debrief, Savannah knows, and I, know. We can't ask like, well, I got question 35. It'll look like this, but what we can do in general is say, hey, what do you think you would have spent more time on or less time on? Or, Dean told me not to worry about earnings per share and calculating fully diluted earnings per share. Did you have to do that? So that's good for confirmation. So I appreciate it, Savannah. Victorious test takers are so good for morale. I really appreciate you coming by and paying it forward. What I'm going to start doing in the live stream is I can't have a guest. So as you can see, I have a dual screen here. Since Brian isn't joining me this evening, it's just 2 cameras on Dean. But, I'm thinking about what we'll do maybe at the front end of our live streams is maybe invite victorious test takers to share their journey and what they did to slay their dragon. There you go, Erica. So just put those to Savannah, Savannah Q, or wherever you guys want to do it. Mari's taking the 7. Thanks for joining us on LinkedIn, by the way. I appreciate it. We broadcast the live stream, just so you know, to live stream. We live stream to LinkedIn. We live stream to the YouTube channel. We live stream to Facebook, and we live stream to Twitter. So if you have anybody who's using those platforms, I told you I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but that's where some people reside and get their information. And there's a Series 7 Guru page there, and Twitter is just Dean Tinney. LinkedIn is Dean Tinney as well. Harder or easier than you expected, Savannah? That's the question. Harder or easier than you expected? By the way, every once in a while somebody says, oh, man, it was easier. I've had people say, oh, my God, Dean, what a slog, man. This thing was a face of death draw. So it'll be interesting to see what Savannah says. Well, rules, Kyle, let me say it this way, Kyle. I haven't had test takers who tell me that they've, missed because of the SEC and the rules. Right? Are the rules there? They are. Right? Most of the SIE is recognition. Again, check out the content outline. So FINRA's content outline, I've also explicated that in the channel. There's an SIE playlist, and the first 4 videos are me going through that playlist. And the most important subject area, 33 questions, is investments. So make sure you, spend the time on the investments. And you can see there then how much of that is regulatory stuff. You should have a general understanding of 33, the Prospectus or Paper Act, 34, people and places. But boy, there's plenty of content there for you. And as I said, most of it's recognition on the SIE. And rules and regs, I don't think. Make sure you got money laundering, Kyle, on the SIE, the Bank Secrecy Act. You definitely need to know that. That's one you need to know by name. You need to know red flags for anti-money laundering. You need to know about CTRs and SARs. So make sure you hit that hard. Let's see. Make sure you know about the cooling off period being a minimum of 20 days. Preliminary prospectus doesn't have the final offering price. The maximum gift or gratuity is $100 from one firm to another. I'm just going up stream of consciousness laundry list of some of the regulatory stuff. $250, remember, is the campaign contribution. You have to be able to vote, or you're going to have a 2-year penalty. So that kind of stuff is certainly testable. I would probably say do the same thing I recommended for confirmation. Do in the playlist for the SIE, I have an exam I wrote based on debrief. There's Brian's Test Geek, and then I've got 2 Kaplan practice finals. And you can also watch me take the FINRA SIE exam, and you can hit pause, and then I talk about why the questions are right or wrong. So that's a total of 5 SIE practice exams for you. And what you can do, Kyle, is then use that as confirmation, right? If you go through those and it's in all 5 of those exams, I'm talking about the Bank Secrecy Act, for example, the hint, that's something you got to know, right? We do pretty well, by the way, on the SIE. We get, my playlist for the SIE does a pretty good job. Yeah, we're covered, Erica. We cover everything. So these live streams are for 9s, 10s, 24s, SIEs, Series 7s. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. No, I'm joking. I teach all the exams. So any exam is fair game. So I was going to try and carve up these live streams based on the exam, but, I don't know how many 9s, 10s, or 24s want to come to their own call. And I don't know how many. So it's just a free-for-all. It's for everything. Kaplan's question is close to FINRA. Well, Kaplan wouldn't do well if, the questions at Kaplan didn't get people through the exam. So, you shouldn't be surprised if you exhaust the Kaplan QBank. By the way, there's a direct correlation. So, Erica, I'm your fake accountability partner. If I were real one means the person at your firm who can tell you, hey, this isn't working out. But, the first thing when somebody tells me they missed the mark, Erica, I would do as an accountability partner is I have an admin key and I go look at your Kaplan QBank and see how many questions you did. And there's a direct correlation between QBank usage rate, exhaustion, and passing the exam. So you shouldn't be surprised if you've done enough practice questions. If I were your accountability partner, Erica, I would want a daily discipline from you. How many Kaplan questions, or if you're using somebody else's, their QBank, Past Perfect or training consultants, how many questions, if I use my passkey, am I going to see you're doing each day? Now, I don't know, Erica, if you're a full-time studier or you're a part-time studier. If you're a part-time studier, I would suggest that whatever your daily discipline is, like a study block of 45 minutes, and that's what you can do. And you're going to watch videos and you're going to read and you're going to do practice questions, activities, or the activities you're going to do in a study block. If you're a part-time studier, I highly recommend you do that in the morning if you can. Carve out that 45 minutes, hour and a half, wherever you can. If you're a full-time studier, again, I would be a little more on you about maybe I would expect 4 study blocks from you each day. And I have had a much higher expectation on practice questions. Now, if you're your own accountability partner, that's its own unique challenges too. If or you're the one who has to keep yourself on track, sometimes, that can be more challenging. I mean, I had my own brokerage firm and, as my own guy, sometimes I would make mistakes. I would do things that I would never let a broker do. So, you know, you shouldn't be surprised is what I would tell you. You shouldn't be surprised. Erica Savannah is asking, how long did you study before you tested? How many hours, I guess, did you put in? Here's Savannah's answer. Withdrawal was very well. It only started getting hard around 70 cubic. Yeah, so fight the good fight, by the way. People get tired, and sometimes when they get tired, they start getting a little lazy, like, oh, man, woe is me. B, oh, I don't know. C, I'm going to have to retest. So fight the good fight. If you're getting tired, maybe just stop at question 70, like Savannah was at question 70, and just close your eyes, take a little trip to Tahiti and say, okay, I'm back, or to go to the bathroom. You're allowed to go to the bathroom. So you might want to break it up. It's sustained concentration for sure. So, maybe you want to break it up. Yeah. I can't hurt, particularly those ones that are based on debrief. But main thing would be doing practice questions, and I wouldn't let other people guard your psyche, by the way. So, sometimes it's harder when you have other people that are testing with you because, they say things like, oh man, that's what's so hard compared to Kaplan, or it was so easy. And you go, oh my God, what test it is. So I would tell you to guard your psyche. I would tell my significant others and my coworkers, listen, I'm emotionally fragile right now. I'm studying for my exam. So, anything you can do to protect my psyche for me, or please do so. Make sure, I'm a big fan of study groups, but I had one of the persons I was helping, and I said, I don't know how to say this tactfully, but maybe you need a new study group. They sound like a bunch of confused people, and it doesn't sound like it's eliciting additional understanding. It sounds like you're just getting more confused. Maybe you just need to, get on your own and start your own study group or do whatever. So, that's part of that same thing, is protecting your psyche, right? So some of us I know have like me, I have a studio. Maybe you don't have an office where you can hide out, or maybe you can go to the library or Starbucks, but try and carve out that safe space to study, and make sure you try not to take negative energy from people. Woohoo! And now we're on the 63. Well, that's 63. I told you heard, I think, is it Jaro? I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But yeah, that 63 is a different thing. Not as many performance opportunities. Make sure you got the Uniform Securities Act. And boy, you want to do as many practice questions as possible, as many practice tests as possible on that 63. There's in the 63 playlist, I have another one coming. Presently, there's, I think, a Test Geek practice final, and I got to know when you're testing, but there's another Kaplan 63 exam that I'm gonna put in the playlist here shortly. So, if you think that would be helpful, reach out to me on the channel, and it's already there, but just hasn't premiered. And if you think you need it, do everything else. But if you think you need it, I'll let you watch it before it premieres. 4 months. That's about right. Was that 4 months with pay? Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. My firm is only, Erica, giving third. Wow. So, Erica, that means I hope they're paying, and I hope that's the only thing you got to do. I mean, I'm a little, suspect of that. Maybe you're just a very valuable person. So, and that could be too. I mean, yeah, 24 Teep is, there's some videos there for you. I've got some practice questions. I'm going to put a practice up there. I have that 24 video just before you test. But same thing. You want to carve. 24s are tough too, because it's harder to carve out time, because usually 24s, general securities principles, are already actively engaged in the business, and they have a family, and they got other things. I'm not saying that our younger folks don't. It's just a lot of them, their lives aren't as complicated because they haven't had time to complicate them. But make sure you do some practice finals. Teep, is your provider Kaplan? If your provider is Kaplan, the advantage to that, I don't know if you were in my 2-day 24 last week, but if you send me QIDs as you're doing practice questions, make sure, you send them to me if you need some help. You just want to really drill down on limit order protection, market making. You want to make sure you got the quotes and from whose perspective, inside looking out, banking. A tip when I usually lose somebody on 24, I had a 42-person class Thursday, Friday, and I expect 100% pass rate. So, here comes the Surgeon General warning. When I lose somebody, Deep, and I don't know what your background is, it's usually on the 24, somebody who's a packaged product person. What I mean by that is, they've been doing mutual funds for the last, 10, 15 years. They got their 7, and, they're at American Funds or, Northwestern or Franklin, and now they're taking a 24. So, don't spend time on the stuff you already know or that is not testable. What I mean by that is don't spend time on, variable annuities, for example. Make sure you're spending time on banking, market making, that's the stuff, where people sometimes miss the mark. And don't overdose on margin, but make sure debit by 0.75 for market value at maintenance and credit by 1.3. So that's what I would be focused on. Primarily doing a practice finals and primarily laying base. So that would be my tips for the last few days. I'm going to take you at few days being, so this is what, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'm going to assume like they're testing Monday. So Sunday, you got to fold up shop and get some rest because you really have to be rested. This goes for everybody. You got to be rested because it's a giant reading test. And 24 is a lot of context. Like you kind of make the call kind of questions. So you got to read it and you got to get to a 50-50. And so maybe I would do that last practice final Saturday and hopefully get a 70% plus on Saturday. So I would be working my base and my practice questions, knowing I'm going to take a final mark, an intellectual inventory Saturday, knowing I'm testing Monday and looking for that 70 on that practice test. If that's the case, you should be in pretty good shape. Yeah, you could ask questions about anything, John. Just put them in the chat. Okay, broker's broker. Certainly, I'll just do that orally. Sometimes we don't have inventory in bonds. So, for example, John, I don't have, when I was a broker, my firm, I don't have inventory. I don't have a bond desk. Some firms do, some firms don't. Let's just use Zions Bank, for example. Zions Bank is big in muni bonds and they have a bond desk. And so if I work the bond desk at Zions, I'm the guy who's buying bonds into our inventory and selling bonds out of our inventory. And John, what I do is publish to my brokers at Zions Bank our offering sheet. These are the bonds that we have in inventory that we're willing to sell. And if I was a broker at Zions, I'd be calling Dr. Jones. Hey, Dr. Jones, how would you like to be on the, the offering, the distribution list for our offering sheet? The muni bonds that Zions has in inventory and is willing to sell. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so let's say that I'm looking at these Utah, Salt Lake City GO bonds, and I'm tired of looking at them. So I would reach out to a broker's broker. JJ Kinney is the largest in the country. And I'd say, hey, listen, JJ Kinney, broker for other brokers. I'd like you to show these to the street for me and see what you can get. And so JJ Kinney says, I'm on it. A broker's broker is kind of helping with inventory reduction, so to speak. So JJ Kinney calls UBS and says to the UBS bond desk, hey, I know you have those big hitters there in Salt Lake that sell lots of muni bonds. I have some Salt Lake City GOs that I'd like to show you. I share the information with UBS, and they say, where are you getting the bonds from? Listen, it's hard enough being a middleman without telling somebody. If I told UBS that I'm getting them from Zions, I'm Zions broker's broker, they're going to say, never mind. And they're going to call Zions and say, hey, we must have got the new guy at JJ Kinney. So test question, if you get this, it used to be on the 7 quite a bit. I haven't had anybody on debrief send me in a long time. Is a broker for other brokers, JJ Kinney, protects customers' identity. Now, I think we make it sound like it's a highfalutin reason that a broker's broker protects the identity of Zions in this example. But it really, I think, makes a little more sense why I protect my customer's identity, because if I don't, they're going to go around me, right? So, when I'm talking to Zions, I say, well, how many can I have? He says, Dean, you can have 500, of these at 98. You can have them for an hour, without recall. So that means the broker's broker has an hour now to go try and find a home for these bonds. And so, I call UPS and they say, what can I have them for? I say 98 and an eighth. right? So that's how I'm going to make my living as the spread. So, John, I hope that was helpful. So, broker's broker is associated with the muni secondary market for municipal bonds. A broker's broker is a broker dealer that doesn't have inventory muni bonds, but interacts with bond desk broker dealers that do have inventory. And what they do is help that bond desk sell the bonds. And then if you get this as a test question, I think it's unlikely, it's low probability, but it would be a broker's broker protects customers' identity. So if there's anything else, John, just put it back in the chat. I'm more than happy to, expand on that if you'd like. It's one of my pet peeves. Just one more thing, John, on a little rant here. When we used to have the old Series 7, it was 2 3-hour sessions of 125 questions, and the MSRB wouldn't recognize it unless there were 55 questions on munis. And when they changed over, they told the MSRB they're not going to ask 55 questions. So there used to be a lot more minutia on muni bonds than there is presently on the Series 7. However, no test prep vendor wants to call their QBank. So, for example, I had somebody say, Dean, your tips, tricks, and memory aids don't include pro golfers don't miss. I said, I don't have that in there because nobody's told me that they've seen pre-sale group designated member orders in terms of order priority in years. So, I get it, right? I mean, capital or past perfect, or they don't want to say, oh, we had 3,600 questions, but we've called them and now we only have 3,000. So I get it, but it can make it a challenge. Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate that. We started that community from zero. All my social media communities were started from zero. In the pandemic, I decided, Cameron, that, I needed to have a direct connection with test takers that wasn't dependent on their sponsoring broker dealer or their test prep vendor choice. So that's what the YouTube channel is about. That's what the Reddit communities are about. And on Reddit, what I like about the Cameron for Principles, we are now 300 members and it's anonymous. And boy, I feel good because it's now it's not just Dean, sometimes I get in the beginning, it's mainly just me because there's no members, right? But I'm so excited, Cameron, that community for 24s, we have a lot of 9s, 10s, and 24s that are helping each other. And it's just nice to see, people commiserating. That's the live stream. That's the Reddit R Series 7. Sometimes it's helpful to know there are other people in a similar situation as yours trying to get it down. Cameron, I did see somebody the other 24, and I didn't answer because, listen, these aren't substitutes for coming to class or substitutes for, learning the information. The guy had a laundry list of 10 things he wanted help on, and the YouTube, the Reddit community, somebody answered him. I thought, man, gee, read your book or, Google. So thanks, Cameron. Thank you so much. Came up a little short. Aiden says on his 66 the first time, I have about 75% on Kaplan. All right. Brian's class, along with your YouTube, I think you're in good shape, man. Think you're in good shape. I think what you're doing is working. So just rinse and repeat would be what I would say. I can't think of anything. I mean, that's kind of where you need to be, right? You got your over 70, which we want. You got my friend Brian. I mean, Brian's great. You've got the YouTube as a supplement to that. So I think you're pretty good. So investment strategies on 66, you should be in pretty good shape. The difference on the 66 is there's a little bit of more of the quantitative modern portfolio theory stuff, but I don't think enough to kill you. Is that what got you the first time, Aiden? Was it was it investments or regulatory stuff? I mean, it's about half and half, and usually people miss the mark. Maybe you got a 69 in both sections, but usually it's one section of the 65 or 66 that gives people trouble. I think you're looking good. So I don't have anything to add to that. Let's see. Did you tell us when you're testing? I don't know when you're testing, but again, as we said, you want to do a practice test. Well, aim and shoot, point and click recognition. So might be overthinking. You can't overthink that. I mean, I told you that about that person I'm so proud of. She just really was making it harder on herself. So you can, in those exams, use your brain housing group against yourself. Please don't bring extra stuff to the questions. And that, particularly in 66, I've had people tell me, and I say, where in the heck is that in the question? There's nowhere in the question that says that. So it can draw you in a bad way. So, I thought about it, Eric. I've thought about it. I'm going to do a Zoom cocktail party, I think, for our 1 million views and our 10,000 subscribers. We're coming in our 2nd year anniversary. So maybe I'll use that Zoom as kind of a beta, but I haven't monetized the channel, so everything's free. And, Erica, to be honest with you, I'm kind of a semi-retired stockbroker guy. So I hate to sound like I'm lazy, but, yeah, it doesn't speak to me to sell you coffee cups or t-shirts, or I could do that, or share your channel memberships, or share, Zoom. However, Erica, the other thing I have been thinking about doing is if you go to Dean Tenney Tutoring, .setmore.com, I am thinking about, because my tutoring is pretty expensive, is maybe putting up an options class. It's up there, but there's no dates and you can't sign up for it. And I was thinking what I would do is maybe do some workshops or coaching calls like that on Zoom. And what happens, Eric, if I do that, like the options I was thinking, I charge $200 an hour for tutoring. So if 10 people showed up, that would be 20. And what happens when you sign up for tutoring, that's how I would do the class. I'd say, hey, I'm going to do an options workshop. It's going to be an hour and it's $20. And Erica, if I do that, you would go up there and you pay me your $20, and then it would send you the Zoom invite with the login. So maybe let me know your thoughts. We're like next year. I haven't decided. The other thing I get a lot of requests for, it's a self-service channel, so I'm not really geared to it. I don't sell you like PDFs of the slides, and I'm thinking next year I'll have like a website. And, if you want to, get the copy of the slides or the PDFs of those explications, maybe I'll make that available. But right now it's just more work than I'm interested in doing. So, yeah, in the future, if you got any recommendations for lectures or channels or what you think I should be doing, here's one of my favorites, Erica. I hope you guys know this is a joke. I never had haters until I was on social media. But, Series 7 Guru is my social handle. It's kind of a joke. And when I started this, somebody said, oh, Dave, you got to have a handle. And I've had people who accuse me of being a narcissist because I talk about myself in the third person. I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's just fun. It's not, so, who knows, what people are going to find offensive or not in terms of things. But it was fun today in my Series 7 class. The guy said he was watching the YouTube channels. He didn't know I was going to be actually teaching the class. And I've had a guy who sent me an email saying, this Dean Tenney guy is going to be upset with you, using his videos. I guess maybe there's some confusion that it is one and the same. That's 62. That means, Stanley, we got some work to do. That's a score. We got to push that up. So we need to find you some, we need to have some more base, certainly more base this time. Woohoo. Sophie, I told you, I like that. Would I want people to pass the first time? The answer is yes, I certainly would. But boy, I just love these people who passed the Cameron. I don't know if you're still here, but we just had a guy on the 24 community. He passed the third time on the 24. That's huge. That's just a huge victory. I mean, that victory is actually, I think, I get more excited about those kind of victories than, listen, I want you to pass the first time, but boy, again, Sophie, kudos. I mean, that shows resiliency, right? You passed 2 tests today. You passed your 7. You passed that test of resiliency. And if you worked with me at the firm, I say, man, there's going to be somebody who long-term, I think will be successful. So you should wear that with a badge of honor, a badge of honor. A month. Okay. So we have some time. That's how you respond, by the way. So, when you go back to your manager, be careful here, right? If I'm a real accountability partner and you miss the mark, there are sometimes variables about, whether I'm going to send you back there, right? Most firms are pretty good. You get over 60, they know you put in the work and they're going to send you back down there. But, you want to, we talked about attitude, if you can kind of fake it, just assume that, I'm going to kick its butt next time. Right. And, that, be honest with you, that's what your firm wants you to, be like, because then they go, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's go get it. Let's go get it this time. Yeah, well, on the channel, Richard, there are 7 Series 7 tests. There's over 1,000 practice questions, Richard. So the answer is yes. If you go to my Series 7 playlist, there's 6 of them. One of those playlists is practice tests. There are 4 that were written by me and based on debrief. They're not diagnostic. There's one from Test Geek, Brian Lee. So that's a total of 5. And there's 2 Kaplan Series 7 practice tests as well. So there's another options practice test of 100 questions. So there's over 1,000 questions, Richard, that the answer is yes. So what you do, Richard, is you hit pause, you answer and hit play, and then hear me tell you what the right answer is and why and what the wrong answers are, and you can get a pretty good score. Mine aren't diagnostic. The Test Geek one is. So if you can get 70 on that, test cake. Thursdays are our premiere, Richard. And on Thursday at 4 p.m. Vegas time, I'll be premiering another Series 7 practice test. There's a live chat that accompanies that, so I will be there in the chat like this. You don't have to be watching the premiere Series 7, but I'm there to answer any question about the premiere, and we chat, and people show up just like this, and you can chat about anything. But the premiere will be running, and that's another Series 7 practice test, and that'll be Thursday. Well, Kyle, as I said, the SIE is primarily recognition. So I wouldn't worry about dates like, December 31st, but I would definitely know T+1 for options and government securities. I would definitely know T+2 for corporates and munis. I would definitely know 90 days is what you can backdate an LOI for. 90 days is how good the Form 144 is good for. So in terms of those dates, yes, those are very testable. I know the cooling off period is a minimum of 20 days. So, there's two ways to do that, Kyle. I would recommend, let me just tell you what I would recommend. This is the quick sheets from Kaplan. And these are $20 with my Guru 10 discount code. You get it for $16. And it has a lot of the dates. So, if you go through this, these quick sheets, it's a good example for dad down. But let's see if they got any dates on this thing. I gave you a couple. Regulatory framework. Yeah, here you go. Business days, calendar days to know. Same business day, cash settlement. 1 business day, I told you that. 2 business days. 15 calendar days for the option agreement. 20 for the cooling off period, I told you that. 30-day wash sale rule. 60-day rollover, 90 days for that, what I told you. So there you go. So maybe you want to order the Kaplan quick sheets. Kaplan quick sheets. Well, hey, Jay, if you are getting 78 on Past Perfect, my friend, no worries. No worries. I don't think you don't need a Kaplan Q Bank. Past Perfect, I have issues with Past Perfect, but it isn't that you're not going to pass. I worry, Jay, that some people can't get to a 78 ever on Past Perfect practice final. So I don't think you need a Kaplan Q Bank, but if you just want to get confirmation of what is Past Perfect in the weeds and sending you down a rabbit hole, for example, oh my God, Past Perfect makes you do math you're not even going to see, and margin questions that are hellacious. So I think you should feel really, really good. And if you're testing Monday, I don't see any reason to mess with that. I mean, I feel pretty good. If you have a 78 on Past Perfect practice, I think you're going to be good. So, when you're this close to the exam, Jay, I try and practice the Hippocratic Oath, which is first do no harm. So, we don't want to do anything that would sidetrack you. And in your situation, maybe a Kaplan Q Bank would be a distractor, rather than, helping you move the ball down the field and matriculate it into scoring position. So you're already in scoring position, my friend. So, how many do you have left? If just put that back in the chat. What I'd be interested in is how many are you planning on doing or done? Where's that average of 78 come from? And was that? I don't think it was you, Savannah, but somebody had sent me the thing where they were averaging, but they had a 61. I said, well, that's not bueno. We got that's not good. But the average looks good. But then they told me they did that like 2 weeks ago. So so that's pretty good too. So I'd be interested to know how many exams is that 78 based on. And how many more Past Perf finals do you have in your possession to do? I mean, if you don't have anything to do between now, any more questions between now and Monday, you do need to get a Q Bank. Well, I told you I'm going to do one on fundamental analysis. Technical analysis, I just don't think it lends. I mean, maybe it'll strike me and I'll do it, but it's just not enough, fodder there. On technical analysis, I'm assuming, Richard, you're talking about 7 or 65 or 66. It's pretty straightforward what you need to know about technical analysis. You definitely need to know the support line and the resistance line in a charting pattern. Now, the support is the bottom line. The resistance is the top line. You need to know where you would place as a technical practitioner or technical analyst a buy stop and a sell stop. I'd place a buy stop above the resistance line to establish a long position. And I would put a sell stop below the support line. You need to recognize a head and shoulders pattern. A head and shoulders pattern is a signal of a reversal. The end of the bullish and the beginning of the bearish. An inverted head and shoulders would be the opposite. It's not a, shampoo you use to take a bath in the stock market. No, no, no. You should know a couple technical theories. You should know the odd lot trading theory, which says odd lotters, and odd lot is less than 100 shares, that odd lotters are the dumb money, and we should do the opposite. You should know short interest theory, which says short sellers, when they buy to cover, can accelerate bullish trends. Classical Dow theory, we'd be looking for confirmations and non-confirmations of trends. Now, a fundamentalist is not a member of the religious right. So we're either going to do top down or bottom up. If you're talking about the Series 7, they've already tested you on the business cycle. And so what we should be there in fundamental analysis, we'd be looking at a balance sheet. We'd be looking at current assets minus current liabilities, working capital. We would look at the quick ratio or asset test ratio, current assets less inventory. We would look at the current ratio, current assets divided by current liabilities, debt to total capital. We'd be looking at price to earnings. Price would be in the marketplace, but the earnings would be on the income statement. But if you're talking Series 7, Richard, and you tell me you missed technical and fundamental analysis, all the questions on that, I think you would still pass. And the reason I think you'd still pass is, remember, on the test, we assume you have a research department that does this. This isn't what you're going to be doing with a Series 7. At 65, you don't get the head and shoulders or that, but you do get this idea about a top-down, bottom-up analysis using the business cycle. So I don't know what exam you're taking, but if it's a 7. But the answer is I can make a video on that. I just, like I say, it hasn't, in my head figured out. I am going to do a balance sheet when that one's ready to go. I just haven't, I got to record it, but I do have one on a balance sheet. Maybe, Richard, what I'll do is just throw a technical quickie on the back end of that. And I could do that, I guess. Not a lot, Erica, not a lot. I mean, it's 3 or 4 questions. It's mainly recognition. I would tell you the work you do, though, will pay off on if you're going on to a 7. If you're going on to a 6, who cares? But make sure you know when options expire. Make sure you know T+1. Make sure you know how we establish a long or short position, opening purchase versus opening sales. Make sure that you know when options expire. Make sure you know about the option disclosure document. So most of that stuff, you might have to do a break even or two, but don't overdose on it. So if you tell me you missed the SIE because of options, I'm going to say, well, you have bigger problems. But there are some option questions. I'd say 3, 4, maybe 5, but they're mainly recognition. I'm not sure what would be awesome. I've been kind of, stream of consciousness. So, yeah, SIE is mainly recognition. So, I'm a big believer in flashcards. And so if you're watching me do my SIE playlist, man, I would have a stack of 4x6 cards and a notepad. And boy, watch me, do that. I'm pretty spot on that SIE. So, I mean, it's a lot of videos for sure, but I have them in suggested watch order. First, do for sure the first 4. And then I have all those practice finals, and I think you'll be in pretty good shape. I think you will have encountered through those videos, pretty much everything you can expect. You might want to watch me, Erica, do the FINRA SIE exam. I hit pause, and then I tell you, what you hit pause, and then you hear me talk about what it is and what the test issues are. So, we do pretty good on the channel getting you through the SIE. I'm very proud of that because we started the channel with primarily the biggest chunk of people were taking 7s. And I've always thought, well, it would be nice if we could start on the first leg of the journey with folks. And we really now are on the channel having people now who've matriculated from the SIE to the 7 to the 66 or SIE 6, 63, 65, and even gone on to 9s and 10s and 24s. And that's really very, very, very gratifying to me. So I want to make sure you start, Erica, 1-0. If you can start your testing journey with that first victory, that just is such a good thing to be able to do. SIE, there we go, next Tuesday. So let's get you all past the SIE. Erica wants to know how long you've been studying. 15 work days. Yeah, you guys you don't need me to put it up on the thing to chat amongst yourself. Please do. Please do. Anna, thanks for jumping in. I love it when test taking victors come back and share with us. So she printed the outline, minor calculations. I think people scare themselves with the math. And it's confirmed that it's mainly identifying the formulas, not much doing the actual math. So, and I may have told you the story, but I had this guy, and I'm making him sound like he's, egotistical, but he's not. He said, Dean, I'm a math geek. I don't want to spend tutoring, learning how to do math that I know better than you. So, you know, skip it. You give me any two numbers, any numbers, and I can figure it out. I said, fine. But he passed, but he called me. He said, Dean, good news, I passed, but they didn't ask me to do the math. They asked me the formulas, and I didn't memorize them because I thought it was a waste of my time. And then they asked me to pull the formula out of the lineup. And I was struggling a little bit. I said I had to do the math in my head to be able to recognize the formula. So discounted cash flow is mainly recognition. And when I'm doing discounted cash flow, I'm kind of deciding what would I be willing to pay for a future series of income streams, right? In stocks, we have two of these. We have the dividend discount model, right? This is what Mr. Buffett does on Bank of America. He says, okay, Bank of America pays me an 84-cent annual dividend. It's going to pay me this 84 cents, 22 cents a quarter from now to whenever. What would I be willing to pay today for this future, set of income streams of 22 cents every 3 months? And then he comes up with a number and he says, okay, based on that, I'm going to buy some more Bank of America stock or I'm not. And then if we assume the dividend's going to grow, that's called the dividend growth model, that would be justify higher price, right? So Bank of America used to have an 18-cent dividend, and I just told you now it's 22 cents. So if Mr. Buffett factors into this, that dividend is going to grow, he can justify paying a higher price. And then, trick, you can't use dividend growth model on preferred stock because, the dividend doesn't go up. And discounted cash flow is primarily going to be used for, as I mentioned, stocks that pay dividends or bonds. Not many registration questions. Well, that's interesting. So if you're taking, Anna, I don't know how long you're going to be able to join us in the live stream, but we have some 66 test takers who I think might be interested if you will stick around asking you maybe a couple questions. I know they were here earlier, so maybe they're still here. Yeah, remember, make sure, I've told you, in that middle ground, man, fight the good fight. I can't tell you how many people, when that middle gets hard on them, they start going, oh my God, I'm not going to pass. If I told you, take a strategic pause, and good news, she said, then she hit the last back end and it started getting easy again. Wow. So I'm glad she stuck with it, man. I'm glad she stuck with it. By the way, and I wish we still gave scores to people who passed, because that'd be interesting to see, like, how at risk were you during that mental horrid, right? So, but kudos. Need some clarity on the 24. For entertainment given as appreciation to clients, concerts, sporting events. Well, all firms, Teep, are going to have their own written supervisory procedures. And so that's going to be a judgment question. Almost all firms are going to require that the person is there with you. So in other words, the concert, Teep, the person who is at the broker dealer showing the appreciation is attending the concert with you. I'm attending the sporting event with you, and I'm at the beach house with you. There's a crazy question, Teep, that comes up sometimes on debrief, like what happens if you and I, Teep, I'm showing you the appreciation, you're the customer, I'm the associated person, we're on our way to the Warrior game, and I get a call that there's been a family emergency on my part, and I can't accompany you. And then it would be, well, would that be okay? And the answer is yes, right? I mean, it sounds, reasonable. So that's usually how it does. Again, very important. Every firm has to have their own written supervisory procedures about, gifting. By the way, either gifting to the client or receiving gifts from the client. Most TEEP compliance officers don't want to deal with it, so they just say no, right? I used to tell my reps, could be a problem, is a problem, never be a problem. If I don't let you do concerts or sporting events or beach houses, I don't have to worry about it. By the way, what would be a violation is when you're trying to buy business. So TEEP, what the violation is going to be is if I've compromised that person's ability to make an independent decision. Again, TEEP is judgment. So, for example, I've been blessed or not blessed, depending on your outlook, to know some billionaires. So, let's say that I give one of these billionaires a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. My compliance gets on me. I said, listen, a bottle of Pappy is not going to, cause that guy to go south. I mean, he's going to laugh at me if I think getting a bottle of bourbon is going to compromise him, right? I think we answered your question about options, Eric, on the SIE 3 or 4, I think. Yeah. Well, if you want to get pay me to tutor, you just go to, again, Dean Tenney, tutoring.setmore.com. and you can book a session, and it'll automatically, send you your Zoom invite. Yeah, I'm pretty expensive. It's $200 an hour for tutoring. But Eric, you can, people all the time form a little syndicate. They get in together, and I'll show up on the Zoom and there's 2, 3, 4 people there. I have no problem with that. But you just go to Dean tutoring.setmore.com and you can book a tutoring session. By the way, it'll ask you to tell me what you want to talk about, what your agenda is. So there's a form that I like you to fill out, so I know what you're wanting some help with. I ideally like to have like a punch list so we can get as much done as possible. Yeah, there you go. So Aiden is helping you out, Erica, confirming what we've told you about Series 7. Well, the rules are different. The rules are different for stocks than it is, or for corporate securities than it is municipal securities. So, if I'm a financial advisor to the issuer and it's a municipality, I cannot be an underwriter. I can't switch my roles. But if I'm a financial advisor to a corporate issuer, I can switch my roles and become an underwriter, but I need to disclose it. So it depends on the scenario about, whether the financial advisor can be an underwriter, right? So for example, Morgan Stanley, I just taught a 7 today. And the story I tell them in the 7 class is Morgan Stanley has been hired as a financial advisor to the city of San Francisco. And then San Francisco says, can you underwrite the bonds? And then Morgan Stanley has to say no. The MSRB thinks it would be too much of a conflict of interest for Morgan Stanley to be representing you as a financial advisor, the issuer, then represent Morgan Stanley, and then recommend it to Morgan Stanley clients, recommending, be representing 3 parties. In corporate settings, Morgan Stanley is a financial advisor to, let's say, SpaceX. And Morgan Stanley is advising SpaceX, and SpaceX says, can you underwrite the bonds? Morgan Stanley says, no problem. But then they would have to disclose that they were a financial advisor to SpaceX. And now, you're a Morgan Stanley customer. You're entitled to know that because, you might kind of think, well, who does Morgan Stanley care more about? Morgan Stanley's retail customers or Elon Musk and SpaceX? So disclosure. Yeah, I love the communities. Please, I so appreciate you, Victoria's test takers, Savannah, coming back and helping folks. Anna, I so appreciate it. I'm sure our other community members do because, listen, you can, listen to Dean, but, sometimes it's better when it comes in from, somebody who's been into the cave and did slay the dragon. So there you go. There's another person confirming what we told you about options. Yeah, I think, daily discipline. You need to, one of the reasons you also want to do this is keep your rhythm. I had a guy, I don't know how he thought I said this. So whoever was a past perfect who got a 78, remember, I said, hey, no worries. And I'm very rarely surprised when somebody misses the mark. And, I thought they were going to pass. Anyways, the guy on Friday, I said, well, you're looking good. I don't think you're going to have any problems Monday. And he missed the mark. I said, well, what'd you do over the weekend? And he said, well, Dean, you told me you were good. So I went out and partied with my friends. I got drunk. I go, whoa. I don't remember saying, get wasted on the weekend on the Monday before you're testing. So I think if he just would have kind of, stuck the landing, ran on impulse power, did a couple questions. He didn't do any questions. So, I mean, he's establishing his rhythm again on the actual test. That's not bueno. So I agree. You should do some kind of a daily discipline, of questions. And no matter whether you're going to do a study block or not, make sure you do, 10 or 15 just to kind of keep that rhythm going. I want to pass before we go to T+1. Oh, well, yeah. Listen, Richard, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm dating myself, Richard, but I was in the business when it was T+5 and we went to T+3 and everybody freaked and we went to T+2. It's not a big deal. It'll just be the X date. Instead of being one business day, it'll be the same day. I've seen this movie 3-4 times, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Someday we'll end up with real-time settlement. Someday. Wow. Well, I don't know why you chose to do that. I mean, that's pretty aggressive. I'm a big believer in being aggressive, but I'm not so sure I think I would do that. So, yeah, I don't know if you made that choice on your own. I wish I knew you or you told me on the YouTube channel or in the live stream, because I would not have recommended that at all. I mean, because again, reading is so key, and I can't imagine you're going to be at your best on the 7 after you just, put the SIE to bed. So That's like trying to slay 2 dragons on one day. I mean, yeah, I think I'd slay the first dragon and get a good night's rest and come back and get the second dragon the next day. So, um, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. I do, you know, you don't have to share because remember chat, but I'd be interested to know how close you came. You know, Knopman's excellent. Excellent. Knopman is using the Kaplan Q Bank, Drew. So I think if you give me the QID, I could actually see what you're looking at. They're the same. Knopman's question bank is Kaplan's question bank. So if you look at the QID, I think they're about, you know, I think Kaplan questions are good. So that means I think Knopman questions are good. Hussein, kudos, my friend. Kudos. Another victorious test taker. Woohoo. Woohoo. Yeah, well, Eric, I don't want to put additional pressure on you, but yes, you know, we have the expectation that most people are going to pass the SAE on the first attempt. So, you know, that's what you want to do. So we'll help you do it. So, you know, people do miss the mark, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Intellectual inventories are always good. I like it. That's a good recommendation. There you go. Okay, well, we're coming up on our explain protected puts. Okay, you certainly can. Now, Erica, be careful. Like I said, we don't want you overdosing on options. This will be our last one, then we're going to go. I'm running a little over. I try and be disciplined, and what I tell you is an hour call is going to be an hour call. So we'll do this, and I'll real quickly see if I've messed up on anything before we call it a day. So let me get a whiteboard. Okay, so let me get a text. So let's say I buy 100 shares of Apple at 147 a share. So I'm bullish. I have unlimited gain potential. I have limited loss potential. So whenever on the test we say that we want protection, protection means I'm going to buy an option. So I'm going to buy term insurance on this. So if you see protect, that means you're going to buy the option. And if you see income, that means you're going to sell the option. So we're looking for the word, you know, protect or income. And so what I might want to do is buy some term insurance. What I might want to do is establish the choice to sell. Establish the choice to sell. I might want to buy one. Each contract governs 100 shares. One Apple. Come on. One Apple. Now I didn't decide how long I want the protection in place. You know, so the longer I want the protection in place, the more it's going to cost me. So this is not a speculative put. I'm not a bear. I'm not trying to profit from Apple going down. I'm putting in a floor. Options about floors and ceilings. Maybe I hear Apple's having problems with their supply chain and they may not be able to get all the iPhones they need for Christmas. So I say, okay, well, maybe I'll buy some protection out till January and I'll buy a 145 put. And let's say that's going to cost me 4 points. So that is a protective put. And I paid 147 for the stock. I paid 147 for the stock. I paid 4 points for the protection. And so I'm out of pocket 151. 151 is my break even. This is the one time and the one time only I have a put and I'm adding. And anytime I want, I can sell the Apple at 145. So I bought some term insurance here. And so that's going to be my max loss. I still have unlimited gain potential. And by the way, I would highly recommend, let me get a different color here. Where's my colors palette? But what I really want you to be able to do on the test is to be able to look at that contract specification and know that that is a choice to sell the stock at the strike price. You have 4 option positions. You know, you have two types of contracts, calls and puts. You can either buy them or sell them. And so you're going to have 4 basic option positions. So that's what that is, a choice to sell the stock at the strike price. Right? Why do I do that? I do that to have the ability to participate in a big price increase but not participate in a big price decline. So hope that was helpful. What calculations did you get? Do you mind sharing? So hopefully you took care of that. Yeah, well, it is. I told you. It's like learning a foreign language where they say when you dream it, that's when you know it. Okay, let's see. We're just cleaning up here. Okay. There you go. Hoo-hoo. Hoorah. Hoorah is our Marine birthday is November 10th. We're coming up on our, oh my goodness. I got so far behind here. Let me just see if I got everybody. Oh, thank you, Samuel. We love it when victorious test takers. We're running over here. Watch Dean's videos on options. I have the options playlist is huge. I have, it's all free. There's literally 30 hours of options. Yeah, no, broker's broker. Erica, be careful. Broker's broker is 7. Guard your psyche. That's 7. That's not SIE. I don't even think you'll see it on the 7, to be honest with you. Oh, there you go, Eric. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I saw that, Eric, and I was like, oh man, this guy's he's a lifesaver. So, well, like I say, I hope you appreciated it. So thank you so much for participating, Eric. I think did I give you a little thing? I think I gave you a little word, I think. If not, I'll circle back and do so. I'm really happy, Eric, that the 24 community seems to be, less Dean in a good way, because I like that we have people helping people, and as I said, Eric, I think sometimes it's more valuable. In your case, helped you, but I also think it's sometimes more helpful to have somebody else who's taking the test to explain it than me trying to explain it. You did a good job, by the way. Good job, by the way. I usually will intervene if somebody, one of the rules in the Reddits is if somebody gives poor information, I'm allowed to kind of, intervene and say, nah, not so much. Oh, well, I apologize for running over. A big night tonight, and I don't have my wingman with me. He doesn't impress you. Henry, I hear people do that. I told you it's kind of a joke, but I mean, I told you I got haters who think that I'm really I'm full of myself, but I start every video by design. I'm a former top producer broker guy, so that's my personality. And I always start with "Welcome to my studio in fabulous Las Vegas," and inch by inch, life is a cinch, And I was I had a Zoom call that somebody booked tutoring. It was their entire department, and that's how they opened it, by doing their imitations of me. Well, that's great. Most of, by the way, the channel's growth is mostly victorious test takers. So that's what I'm trying to do. So people think I'm after views. No, the views come from people passing the test and telling their friends. That's what we're trying to do. Cool. All right. I'm just trying to SMA. John, I wouldn't worry about SMA, but the SMA is the excess equity, the holding tank. You wouldn't affect your debit balance, John, unless you actually used it. So unless you use your SMA as cash or as buying power, it would not affect your debit balance. I think the best analogy, John, is an excess equity line of credit on your house, right? Excess equity line of credit. You write the check, the mortgage goes up. But if you don't write the check, the mortgage remains the same. I don't think all test perimeters go overboard, John. I highly recommend. I have a video on margin called "Don't Overdose on Margin." But John, if you want, next Tuesday, I don't know when you're testing, I'm more than happy to open another whiteboard. Did you guys see my whiteboard? I hope I shared it properly. I'm used to Brian being here with his, whiteboard. So if in the chat, if you'll tell me that you actually did see the whiteboard that I used for Erica's protected put. Anyways, John, assuming that you want to have me do that, I'm more than happy next Tuesday. Just get in the queue early, and I'll open up a whiteboard and I'll go through SMA with you. Well, I'm glad, John. You can't find my videos. You go to Dean Tinney. So Erica, you just go to you're on the YouTube channel right now. So you can find the YouTube channel by youtube.com/C/Dean Tinney, or you can find the YouTube channel by youtube.com/@Series7Guru. But you're on the channel. I think you're watching from the YouTube channel right now, and you go in the playlist, and the first playlist on the homepage is the SIE playlist. And all those are the videos for the SIE. They're in suggested watch over. There's like 50 of them. So, yeah, I'm with you, Eric. I appreciate you, helping out on it. Yeah, Veterans Day is coming up, and the Marine Corps birthday is Thursday. So All right, cool, cool. 12 option questions. Yeah, make sure the video I have for that is called Who's Your Daddy? Right? Is it the SEC or is it the state? It's never both, so I'm not surprised. So solicitors definitely know about the brochures. So that's good debrief. That's confirmation. No, I didn't say that. I never said past perfect is better than Kaplan. I said past perfect, if you get a 78, you should feel good. I think they make you work much harder than you need to. I think Kaplan's the best, or I wouldn't be taking money from Kaplan. Well, regroup, print out the content outline, do the inventory we talked about. Go through the test content outline that FINRA publishes, put a plus next to things you think you owned, you intellectually owned and knew what you were being asked, a minus to things you're going to do better next time, 0 the things you're neutral on. Then, put it away for 3 or 4 days, right? So I don't know when you failed, let your brain refresh, reset, come back to it by reading and then transitioning back into questions and then, practice files. Ooh, today. Ooh, that's the fresh. The herd is fresh. So while the herd is fresh, go do what I just told you to do and then put it away. But while that herd is fresh, go get that thing so you can go over your notes and kind of know what it is you want to do better next time, and then put that away for a couple of days and then come back to it. Okay, guys, I'm sorry for running over, but boy, we had a good session. Yeah, like I say, on the channel, on the YouTube and Reddits, I'm agnostic about what study materials you choose. Right? We help everybody, regardless of your sponsoring broker dealer or your test prep vendor. This is not a Kaplan channel. So, whatever you're using, I hear the training consultants gets mad because they have a lot of classes where people are passing around, my YouTube channel. So there you go. I like it, Jay. I think you're in good shape. All right, Eli, I know you're going to get it. Sales supervisor. Boy, Eli's he's been working. I think he's done what he needs to make all his marks. Wow, what a busy night. This has been a pretty busy night. There is one question perhaps you can get. There is one, Erica. Did you see my whiteboard or not? I have a whole lecture, Erica. So we told you to find the thing. If you can't, send me an email. It's deantinney@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link. I have an entire 15-minute lecture on protective puts. So, besides the other options that are there. But could you see a protective put on the SIE? The answer is yes. You could get more questions by knowing the recognition when they expire, T+1, option agreement back in 15 days. There you go. All right, man. Am I almost to the end here? There is no call on a protective put, Eric. I think you're in the weeds on the options. You have other things to be doing that you should be doing besides that. There isn't a call. It's a protective put. You're establishing the choice to put the stock to somebody. A call is a choice to buy the stock. You haven't done that. You would buy a call to protect a short stock position. So listen, you need to put options away, my friend, get other things done, and then circle back on options because I'm afraid you're going down a rabbit hole on options for the SIE, and it does you no good. There's not enough payoff for you. So make sure you get the other things done first. Yeah, it's an insurance. It's protection. Man, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, just start reading the book, Frank, cover to cover. Read your book cover to cover first, then start doing practice questions and work your way up to doing finals. Okay, is that everything? I hope I'm almost done here. Oop. Well, actually, like I say, that hurts. While the hurt's fresh, go do that. Print out that test specifications. Okay. Hey, Pam. Pam and I go way back. When I was a young PFC in the Marine Corps, we were pretty damn serious. You could have been my future ex-wife. So thanks for joining us, Pam. All right, guys. That ends this week's live stream. I apologize for running over. I will see you for our next one, which is next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye-bye.